For the last year and a half, I have had a lot of my close friends give up hope. Many of them telling me that their lives aren't going to get any better. Every single one of them fearing that they would be judged by everyone around them if they just simply asked for help. On average, there are over 123 suicides per day, and 25% of those people have had other suicide attempts. This world is pushing suicide rates to go up. Suicide is not a pretty event to have happen around you. I know what it feels like to lose someone to suicide, and from my own experience, have dealt with suicidal thoughts. Suicide shouldn't have to be the only option for people to finally get someone to notice that they are hurting, but by that time, it is too late. There are so many leading causes to suicide, and at some point in every single person's life will have a suicidal thought or have dealt with suicide. One of the main leading causes of suicide is they have a mental illness. Over 90% of people who die by suicide have a mental illness at the time of their death. When I say mental illness, a lot of you are probably thinking of someone who is in a mental hospital or someone who's crazy. That's not true. All that is just a mental stereotype that is put on mental illnesses, along with the stigma. One of the most common mental illnesses that lead to suicide is untreated depression. People who lose a loved one or even lost a job can become depressed. When people become depressed, a lot of the time they pull away from people, which then leads them not feeling like they matter enough in this world to talk about how they truly feel inside. When clinically treated, there is only a 15% chance that they will commit, unlike someone who is untreated up to 45%. Untreated depression is a real and major issue. Another mental illness that leads to suicide, believe it or not, is eating disorders. There are 3 main eating disorders: anorexia nervosa, which is the fear of gaining weight or becoming fat; bulimia nervosa, which is the act of binge eating, then purging or vomiting; and then there is binge eating disorders, which is eating until uncomfortably full in one sitting. People do this because they don't feel comfortable in their own bodies. Our society has gotten so bad to the point people are hurting themselves to make them look pretty or attractive so they fit in. A study in 2010 found that people with anorexia are 56 times more likely to commit suicide than non-sufferers. People shouldn't have to hurt themselves in order for our society to accept them. We should all just accept them for who they truly are. Another is self-harm. The thing many people don't know is that 85% of people who self-harm don't want to die. Self-harm is the act of hurting yourself from simply hitting your head against the wall or all the way to cutting your own skin on purpose. The relationship between suicide and self-injury is complicated. While people with non-suicidal self-injury don't really intend to complete suicide, they may cause more harm than intended, which could result in medical complications or even death. In severe or prolonged cases of self-injury, a person may become desperate about their lack of control over the behavior and its addictive nature, which may lead them to a true suicide attempt. Self-harmers self-harm for many different reasons. Not all of the reasons are the same. But I can tell you this: the most common reasons is that they don't feel comfortable in the situation they are in, or they're getting bullied, or even abused. That leads to my next cause that leads to suicide, which is bullying. When people get bullied, they soon begin to think they are worthless and a waste of time, that they aren't good enough for the people around them. Many people think that, and it's not true. Because of that thinking, they fall into depression. There have been many cases of school kids getting bullied or even told to kill themselves because they don't fit in or because they are different. If we just allowed people to be different and accepted them for who they truly are, bully victim rates wouldn't be as high. Bully victims are between 2 to 9 times more likely to consider suicide than non-victims, according to studies by Yale University. The bullying is what starts people to fall into mental illnesses and not feel like they're worthy enough to live. Try to make people feel accepted for who they truly are. The last cause I'm going to talk about is abuse. There are 4 main ways of abuse: sexual, verbal, mental, and physical. Multiple studies have found that domestic violence survivors have higher than average rates of suicidal thoughts, with as many as 23% of survivors having attempted suicide compared to 3% among population with no prior domestic violence exposure. Many people may not notice that there is abuse happening around them, or even that they are the ones being abused. The only thing I can say about that is don't be the abuser. You can ruin someone's life by doing that. They feel like the only way they can escape from that pain is just to end their own life. This shouldn't have to be it really should not have to be this way. When someone commits suicide, it affects the whole community. There's always a part of someone who gets crushed knowing that how this person passed away, that they couldn't have helped them through whatever they were going through. When there's someone who is determined and dead set on taking their life, it has been proven that you may try to convince them out of doing it, but most of the time, you will fail. I've had many experiences with that myself, hearing their family say the words that your friend or your family or even just someone in the community committed suicide, your heart just sinks. Your mind telling you that you could have helped them, you could have saved them, even though everyone around you is telling you that you have done what you could have done. Losing someone to suicide is a devastating tragedy. Please don't blame yourself. Most of the time, when someone commits suicide, people don't know that that person is suffering like they are until it is too late. There are many leading causes of suicide. The ones that I told you are only a small few. Suicide is a heartbreaking, devastating tragedy to occur in someone's life. The one thing that will help make someone reconsider committing is just a little light in someone's day. When you leave this room today, I want to challenge you to do at least 20 kind things for others and not just your friends. Suicide is something that doesn't have to happen in this world if we are here for each other and stop judging the people around us. We can stop suicide rates from increasing. The number for the National Suicide Lifeline is 1-800-723-8255. Thank you.